the worksheet that has the emotion wheel, and then one that says communication at the top, and one that says action and identifying values, and a feeling one. Oh, mine are out of order. I apologize. I guess feeling was second. Feeling. And then tips in conversation to keep someone from getting defensive. Right, Em? I think
it's feelings, action, communication, and then the tips from conversation. That's part of the communication one.
Yes.
But yeah, you'll understand why you only have the Sally when we get started. We'll explain all that.
Okay, friends, Emily and I are huge believers in being grounded and just sitting for a minute in your body. We are busy, busy men and women. We juggle lots of balls all the time. So we love to begin by just asking everyone, if you're comfortable, to just close your eyes for a minute and take a wonderful deep breath in and out. And take another one in and out, and just kind of feel your shoulders relax, and just take a moment. So what I want you to be holding in your brain while you're closing your eyes and taking a moment is, we all have challenging people in our lives and situations, and we're going to go over why that may arise. But I want you, during our training today, to think of one specific challenging person, situation you have going on right now, one that is on your heart and keeps you worrying. And we're going to open our eyes in a moment and take the blank paper that we asked you to come with and jot down, what is that situation? Who is that person? Kind of just take a minute to write that down, and we're going to reflect as we go through and give you tips and tricks back to that situation that we hope you can find some tools for today. So take a minute and just jot that down.
Okay, some of you guys might just write down a name. Some of you might be writing down more like a journal entry, like things that are coming up for you. The most important thing we want you to understand is that you are going to leave this call feeling more empowered and more peaceful about whatever it is that you're writing down. That is our goal with this training, okay? So Darcy and I have been on our own separate journeys with the content we're going to share today. And we feel very strongly that although it hasn't been a smooth ride for us in some ways, we feel really strongly that we have gone through it because we can now help others. And that really is what our passion is. So I have a warning though, because as we're going through the content tonight, you might feel yourself become defensive, or you might feel yourself want to argue your case about why you're the victim in this situation. And I want you to know that awareness, when you feel that come up, that is a good sign. That's like a little green flag coming up saying, okay, this, whatever it is right now that they're sharing is something I need to learn. Okay. So instead of fighting that feeling, be like, oh my gosh, okay, this is something I need to pay attention to. Okay. So, we are going to be moving through this quickly. I wish we could dive deeper into this, all of the details, but at the end, hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A as you're working through your own situation that we can help you with. Basically, we want you to walk away with tools in your toolbox, but we need to have a few friends help us with that. So as I mentioned earlier, we have our friend people-pleasing Paula. People-pleasing Paula really needs other people to like her. She has a really hard time saying no. She apologizes or accepts fault for things, even when she wasn't the one to blame. And as you're listening to these, I want you to be like, just have that awareness. If you're like, oops, that's me. She's a true giver. She's a beautiful person, but she's always needing and searching for that external validation. Like she needs somebody else to tell her that she's doing a good job, so she feels like she's doing a good job. And it's that. Yep. So that is people-pleasing Paula. Who, I'm just curious, put it in the chat if you feel like you might be a people-pleasing Paula. And the reason that Darcy and I created her instead of like rage out Rebecca is because this is who Darcy and I were. And we've shifted into our friend, self-aware Sally. Oh my gosh, you guys, self-aware Sally is awesome. So self-aware Sally has control of her thoughts. So many people pleasers I'm seeing in the chat. Okay, she recognizes her strengths and her challenges. She recognizes, or she understands and talks about her needs and her feelings. And she recognizes other people's needs and feelings. She sees how her behavior affects others. She has a growth mindset and she learns from her mistakes, and she's always willing to be vulnerable. Okay, so self-aware Sally is the ideal. It's where we want to get to. And you'll see when we share today why you need to know these two characters and how they are going to impact the way that you start showing up.
Okay, so as we travel through our businesses, our day-to-day lives, things happen to us, you guys. There are circumstances that happen, and circumstances are out of our control. They're just going to happen, and they happen. But what we want to show you today, that you do not have to be a victim to your circumstances, because what you can control is how you feel, the action you're going to take regarding that circumstance, and then you're going to have different outcomes. So again, Emily mentioned, when you really understand this tool, you can create more peace within yourself. And that's our ultimate goal. We cannot control others. We can't control the circumstances, but we can control our feelings and our actions and our outcomes. So today we're going to walk through 3 different scenarios using people-pleasing Paula and self-aware Sally, the same situations, and you can really see what extreme different outcomes they have. And this is going to be based on, our businesses, you guys. So, yeah, that is
so
where.
Let's get well. And the thing is, we want you guys to see that self-aware Sally literally has a toolbox, and here it is. We gave you self-aware Sally's toolbox, and you're going to see how she uses all of the things in this toolbox. And when you leave, you now have Sally's toolbox. So as things come up in your business, in your life, you can go back to Sally's toolbox and take out these tools and use them. So let's start with our very first circumstance. So this is people-pleasing Paula. Okay, so Molly, a leader on Paula's team, sends her a message and tells her that she feels unsupported, and that Paula's lack of leadership is why Molly hasn't ranked up. So the first thing is, how does Molly feel in this moment? Or sorry, how does Paula feel in this moment getting this message from Molly? Immediately, she feels defensive and angry because she's done so much to help Molly. So she feels angry. But then as that passes, then she starts feeling really insecure and inadequate in her leadership, because she starts to question all of her leadership ability, seeing that she's getting that kind of feedback. So what action does she take when she feels this way? Well, when she's angry, she leaves Molly a heated message back telling her how she absolutely has helped her and supported her, and she kind of lashes out at her. Then after that message is sent and the insecurities seep in, she seeks validation by reaching out to Kelly, another leader on her team, to kind of vent about what Molly said, and then also receive that validation from Kelly, like, oh my gosh, no, Paula, you are a great leader. It's Molly's the enemy, right? So she ends up, that's how she kind of handles her situation. Those are the actions that she takes. So what is the outcome of Paula's feelings and then actions? So first of all, Paula is on an emotional roller coaster, you guys. She feels even more insecure because now she has team drama going on. Molly continues to sit in victim. In fact, she's even more angry at Paula because Paula lashed out at her in a voice message. The team now has been exposed to a toxic culture shift as Kelly was looped in and she had nothing to do with the situation. Long term, this is a negative impact across the board. Everybody involved, and team culture was damaged. So no growth happened, and Molly did not feel seen or heard by Paula as her leader in that moment. Okay, so let's take the same exact scenario and see what our friend Sally does.
Yep, so same lens. And I think what I want you all to hear and understand is we're always going to react when something like this happens. So we're not saying that self-aware Sally isn't a human too. Like, she's obviously still going to react and be like, oh, and feel those feelings when you receive messages from people, right? And I think a lot of the times what we need to be aware of is the reaction we're feeling, the triggered feeling we're feeling is usually because we're insecure in something within ourselves, right? I know for me, I struggled a lot with my leadership beliefs. And so when I was self-aware, I was people pleasing Paula. I still am. I'm still, recovering from people pleasing, but I took a lot of these as, personal attacks because I was struggling in my own leadership beliefs about myself. So I will say, the more you can really dig into what are your strengths, who are you as a leader, stop comparing and recognize what you bring to the table, really getting clear too on what is my role as a leader, what is, my role within my team, also helps you. And it's going to be different for all of you. We all view our roles and our leadership very differently. There is no right or wrong way to be a Plexus leader. But you have to get clear so that when you get these messages, and this is what Self-Aware Sally has done. She has done a lot of work with coaches, with reading books, with really figuring out who am I as a leader and what is my role, so that when she receives messages like this, it's still a sting. It's still oh, what's going on? But she's much more able to recognize this is something going on with Molly. And it's my job to figure out why she's feeling this way. So just, I want to just preface with that we really also as leaders have to dig in to figure out who we are. So the difference in Sally is what she does is she is going to pull out her wheel and she's going to look at, oh, I'm feeling something. What am I feeling? And she's going to look through the wheel and identify and be aware of those feelings. So she's not going to react. She's not going to quickly respond. She's going to sit in her feelings like, I'm feeling triggered. I'm feeling a feeling like I'm an inadequate leader. Why am I feeling that way? Is that a truth about me? And really feel where it's coming from. I got to find my worksheet because the next thing she's going to do is she's going to pull out her feeling sheet. Sorry, I just had to find it. I'm feeling triggered. Of course I am. I am a human, right? Recognize that you're human, you guys. Of course you're going to feel a little triggered. And she maybe is feeling it tight in her chest and it's, beating really fast. It's a fast vibration. She's going to just recognize what her body is doing to react to this. And then she's going to pull out a journal and she's going to ask herself, what are some events that might have led up to her feeling this way? What is my part in it? What is her part in it? What are some, feelings and thoughts that are coming up about me as a leader? Is this a truth? Is this a truth about me? Do I need to own some of this? Or is some of this just thoughts that my brain is offering up because I struggle in doubts in my leadership? What do I need at this moment to really, cope with my feelings? And then Emily and I have done a lot of work thinking about our future selves. Like, who do I actually want to show up as a leader? What would be the ultimate goal in my leadership? And of course, we've never really arrived, but like, who am I growing into? And how would that person be reacting right now? What would my future self be feeling? And what are they going to do with this trigger? And, what would it feel like to handle a trigger in the way my future self would? And then I feel is a good one. So these are all journaling questions I'm reading right from our feelings sheet, you guys. If you don't have them printed off, they're all right in the sheet. And then, you're going to just close your eyes and just get your, your fight or flight system calmed down. And are you next, Em? And then, then she's going to take action. Yeah.
So basically, Sally has processed what Darcy just went through was her processing her feelings. She doesn't run away from them. She processes them. And when she did that, something came clear to her. And what it was that Molly, she is feeling triggered and upset because Molly has crossed a boundary. Okay. When she realizes that, she doesn't get angry at Molly because if someone crosses a boundary, they don't know it's a boundary until you tell them. So she's not angry at Molly. She just says, oh, I see what's happened here. Molly has crossed a boundary and I need to make sure I'm communicating my boundary to Molly so that I know that it won't be crossed again, right? So she uses what we call our 4 steps to make and communicate boundaries. You guys, I used to be terrified of boundaries, terrified. And since we've started using these 4 steps, Darcy and I, we're like, oh my gosh, people appreciate the boundary. Like they now know, oh, I see what I did there. Okay, yeah, next time I'll handle that differently, right? So let's give you an example. This is the boundary that Molly crossed. Sally will not be blamed for things that she did not do. So she's going to use the 4 steps of identifying the fact of what happened, describe the feeling that came up for her, identify the request or identify her need, and then make that request to Molly. So it will sound like this. Darcy, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so this is what she says. Molly, I read your message and I'm sensing frustration. I'm feeling a little confused. It sounds like you're communicating that you have needs that are not being met. And I'm happy to talk to you about that. However, I will not be blamed, basically. I do want to have an open conversation where we both feel heard. Can we talk today at either 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock? Okay, so do you guys see how she was able to communicate the boundary and make sure that Molly is feeling heard? So then after she sends that message and they decide a time to talk, now she's going to do the next worksheet in this communication in your worksheets. You guys turn to this page that says communication. Here's the thing about Sally. She never steps into the role of a victim. She's always willing to stand in full accountability. She senses that Molly is feeling like she's having needs that aren't being met with her as a leader. So she's going to stop and ask herself questions like, what am I doing? Or maybe something I haven't done to contribute to Molly feeling this way. So she's going to take some time to go through the clarifying conversation worksheet, and she's actually going to write out her answers. Okay, you guys, this worksheet will change your life if you use it before you have hard conversations. Okay, so fill this out standing in full accountability, and then get prepared to have this conversation. When she does that, and again, on the back, it's these are tips and conversations to keep someone from getting defensive. You guys, this stuff is gold. So she uses this and she has an honest conversation with Molly. So what is the outcome for Sally? First of all, Sally feels great. She's standing strong in her leadership, right? She is also aware, really quick, she's also aware that whenever she gets quote unquote feedback from someone on her team, there is a nugget of truth. She doesn't shy away. She leans in and says, okay, what in this seemingly challenging circumstance is actually a growth opportunity for me? How can I grow as a leader through this? Because I'm hearing from Molly and I'm not going to push away from it. I'm going to say, okay, Molly, tell me what's going on and let me learn from this situation to be a better leader. So when she does that, she now feels like, number one, she's communicated the boundary with Molly, but now she's really stepping into even bettering herself as a leader as she's working through this with Molly. Now, how does Molly feel? Molly feels like she is seen, heard, and loved by her leader. She has the boundary communication that she will not blame Sally anymore, right? That helps her step into her own power and owning her own business, right? We're all CEOs of our own company. So the team was not involved because it stayed between Sally and Molly as it should. And long-term, Sally feels even more confident in her leadership and her ability to communicate. And Molly now knows how to handle hard situations on her team because it's been modeled for her. Okay, do you guys see the difference? Is everyone seeing how different those outcomes are? Now what you're going to do is take out your, whatever it is that you wrote down. And I want you to think about, do you need to process your emotion? I want you to work, like take your worksheet and circle and highlight whatever you need to do. If you're like, oh my gosh, I definitely need to do this with what Sally did. Do you need to create a boundary? Do you need to use those 4 steps? Do you need to prepare for a clarifying conversation with someone? Do you need to fill out that worksheet? So we're just going to give you a second to think through your situation and what you just learned from Sally that you need to implement. Okay. Now we thought it would be fun. Let's see how many people are on. Okay. We thought it would be fun to make this a little bit interactive, because as Darcy and I were doing this live, we definitely had time for them to talk to each other. So I'm going to get that set up, Darcy, while you go into the next circumstance.
Yep. So circumstance number 2. So we are back to people pleasing Paula. So Paula and her level 1 Julie plan an in-person event together. They make a PowerPoint and are prepared to speak. Half the slides are for Paula and half are for Julie. And the day before the event, Julie texts Paula and tells her she can't come to the event. So now remember, Paula is a giver who needs others to like her. But what we want you all to do is we're going to set you up into breakout rooms, and we want you to discuss, how do you think people-pleasing Paula is feeling with this circumstance, with a cancellation on an event? And then what action is people-pleasing Paula probably going to take?
Okay, so you guys hop in your rooms. There's like 4 or 5 people to a room, and you guys can chat. What is Paula going to feel, and what action will she take?
Okay. 3 rooms, 3 or 4 rooms?
Yeah, I think people are all joining rooms. It's just taking a second to.
I love that we figured out rooms. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's the best. And I think this is good to have 4 or 5 to a room, so that way there's
conversation.
Some people are in a position where they can't chat. Okay, it looks like almost everybody's in a room. So Darcy, because this is a recording and they will only see us, I think we should also discuss, like, what do you think, Paula? Like, how do you feel like she feels when Julie did this?
I think upset, stressed out, probably really nervous.
Probably also resentful.
Mm-hmm.
Probably look at our, like, powerless.
Yep.
Yeah, resentful is in the.
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel Burquest just joined. I'm gonna throw her into our room.
Okay.
Is she there? Rachel, are you there?
Yeah, and that, like, definitely in that alone emotion, like I'm isolated.
Kicked her into a room. She's probably gonna be like, "What the heck?"
No, she's here staring at us.
She is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I assigned her to a room. She's gonna.
We might be in somebody's room. Are we in room?
No, we're not, because
No.
I have you and I are both unassigned.
Oh, so some people just didn't join. That's okay.
Yeah, there's some people that I think they maybe just couldn't. So that's why I figure you and I can go through it. So okay, so she's feeling resentful, stressed out, all those things. So
Yeah,
what
the angry and alone, sad. Yeah. Those.
So what action do you think she would take?
Well, me as people pleasing Paula back in the day, I'd be like, it's fine, I got it, no worries. And then I would be secretly so, like, mad that I didn't speak up for myself, that I really am now so nervous to do the event alone, but I wasn't able to share my feelings.
That, or like even worse, she like cancels the event or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she ends up.
Right, ruins for everybody.
Okay, should we bring everybody back and see what they said?
I say yes.
Give them 60 seconds. I feel like we talked through it, so we gave a good example, especially for those who are listening in.
Oh, I got out. How did I do that? Go back.
Okay, are people coming back?
Think so.
I left mine too soon.
Too soon.
I'm sorry, we kicked you back into the big room.
I said
we
it'll
kicked
end
you all
in
out.
58 seconds, and I thought, for some reason, I thought I said okay, but it said leave, and I boom gone.
Well, it's all right.
No, that's not
well,
your
everybody,
fault. It's my fault.
Is
Yeah,
everybody,
so friends, we want you to now share in the chat. Share in the chat, how would she be feeling? How is people pleasing Paula feeling? What did you guys say?
yeah, in your groups, what did you guys say?
How's she feeling?
Feeling. Oh, Darcy,
Overwhelmed and frustrated. Yes, she feels frustrated.
Darcy, you want to go to the
Potentially
feeling side?
resentful. Yes. She's happy to do it all. Oh my gosh, we said the same things. Yep.
I know, resentful was the first thing I thought
Mhm.
of.
Yep.
So frustrated, but she just gets the job done. Yep, that's exactly what Darcy was saying.
I know, because I'm sure that there are more of us on this call. She's letting Julie off the hook, saying it's okay, even though she's frustrated. Yes.
That's
Has
exactly
fears
what we kept
frustrated.
saying. Yep.
Rejected, frustrated. Did not express her feelings. Yeah, of course, I'll take care of it. Oh my gosh, you guys. Yes. And then not trusting them in the future. I cannot wait to walk through this one with you guys and show you the different outcomes. Can you find someone that can help me in this?
It sounds like a lot of us may have
Loss of trust. Yes, loss of trust. Hadn't thought about that, but yes. And angry with Julie, but saying everything's okay, but great behind her back. I mean, yes, you guys. Yes, yes, yes.
It
So
seems
much.
like some of us may have experienced coming from the people-pleasing Paula, or experienced handling people-pleasing Paulas.
So
okay,
true.
so,
I'm going to keep rolling. I'm going to keep rolling.
Keep going through
absolutely. So she is going to feel this way, nervous to do alone, anxious, stress, all the things you guys said. Her action is going to be absolutely probably what you all said. Tells Julie, totally fine. Don't worry. I got it. But then, yep, she's resentful. She's mad. She's mad at herself that she didn't speak up and tell her what she needed. And you're right. She's probably, the outcome is going to be that Paula is upset with herself. She's going to scramble into this event all by herself. She's going to be nervous and anxious and go through all the emotions. She's probably going to talk to everybody behind Julie's back about how frustrated she is. Julie is going to be so confused. Maybe Paula gives her the silent treatment. Maybe she refuses to run events with her. And Julie's going to think, all I heard back was, it's fine. I got this. Don't worry. And she's going to be so confused as to why Paula is treating her the way she's treating her. The team is going to be derailed from their goals. They're going to be brought into the drama. They're going to be all swiped into all of this toxic team culture. And long-term, Paula and Julie will probably stop running events together. There's going to be a lot of mistrust on the team and just not a positive outcome. So let's do the same thing with Self-Aware Sally.
Okay, so you guys know the story. Julie bails, right? They've created it together and now Julie bails. So how does Sally feel? Okay, I really want to talk about the processing emotion part, because Darcy talked about it in the first one, but I want you guys to listen to this analogy. So when a cow is grazing in a field and sees a storm coming, the storm cloud's coming, the direction of the cow will run away from the storm, and the storm will like eventually catch up with the cow, and then the cow will be in the storm for longer. Darcy, will you go to the feeling slide?
Oh, yep.
And then, but if a buffalo is grazing in a field and sees the storm cloud coming, the buffalo will always run toward the storm, because as the buffalo is running toward the storm and the storm is moving in this direction, it goes through the storm much faster. Do you guys see that? That is what Self-Aware Sally does with her feelings. She leans in. Like when she's feeling resentful, frustrated, all of those emotions are coming up. She leans into them and she feels them. And that's why in our worksheets, when we say the feeling part, the first thing she does is just identify how they feel in her body and allow herself to feel them. Okay. So that's a very, very important part of what Sally does. The other thing about Sally is that she's well aware of her values that she has, that she innately projects on other people because she's a human. Okay. So have you guys ever heard of manuals? Raise your hand if you've heard of a manual. So we walk around with our own unique sets of values from the way we were raised and our own life experiences. And then when we project them on other people, it's like we write a manual for people in our lives. So we write a manual for everyone, from like the lady who checks you out in the grocery store, because your manual for her says she should bag all the cold things together, right? And then we have like a manual for our husbands and our spouses that are like this thick, and they've never read your manuals. People have never read your manuals. But because Sally knows this, she's able to process those emotions and realize, like, oh, I'm projecting my values. I'm expecting them to have read the manual that I've written for them that they've never seen. Okay, so an example of this, I just recently was invited to a friend's house for dinner, and she invited my family over about 5:30 is when she wanted us to come over for dinner, and the kids are playing, parents are talking, hanging out in the kitchen. She had appetizers, And then I realized that it's almost 9 p.m. and she hasn't taken the food out of the oven for dinner. And I immediately was like, are you kidding? Like, I started to feel this frustration come up. It was because in my manual for her, when you invite someone over for dinner about 5:30, you should eat about 6 to 6:30 because, you know, like I value bedtime routine at home for my kids. She values fellowship and friendship time, and she's very laid back. So when I realized like, oh, we just have different values and I'm projecting mine onto her, it made me feel that frustration. But then when I had the awareness, the frustration started to dissipate because I was like, oh, I see what I'm doing. I see what I'm doing here. Okay. Do you guys see this? Okay. So Sally has all of this awareness. So she realizes that she's really just projecting her values onto Julie, and she's expecting Julie to act the way she would act. So what action does she take?
Oops, I'm going ahead too fast. Okay, yes. And so what I love about both of the difference between these leaders, you guys, is that self-aware Sally always gets curious.
Oh, is she cutting out? Can you guys hear Darcy?
Am I frozen? Am I frozen?
There
Am I
you are.
back?
You're back. You're back.
Okay, so what I love about self-aware Sally and what Emily and I have really had to discover is like, get curious, like ask your team members questions to figure out what's going on. And so that's the action that self-aware Sally is going to do. She's going to ask Julie what she might be valuing over the event. And she finds out that Julie's potential is canceled. And so Julie's manual is that if she doesn't have anybody come, she doesn't need to come to the event. And, you know, self-aware Sally's manual is that when we plan an event together, you show up and you do the event because you're going to leave me high and dry, even if you don't have potentials. But it's not right or wrong, you guys. It's just that people show up with their different values in the world. So, you know, we get so triggered and we get so angry when really we just take a step back and recognize, oh, interesting. They just are operating differently than I operate in the world. Again, not right or wrong, just different. And the moment that I really could be at peace, one with my husband, especially, like, oh, he grew up with different values. He grew up with a different manual. And I did too, like, and get curious and ask him about all of it, the more peace we both had. So Sally is going to take that knowledge that she just gained by being curious, and she's going to explain what her value system is and her.
Sorry, guys, she's cutting out. But what she's going to do is she's going to use those 4 steps to communicate her boundary. So let me see if I have.
Oh, frozen. Can you see it now?
There it is. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I was filling them in.
The fog is so bad here in Maine. I know you had your potentials cancel and you don't feel the need to host this event with me anymore, but we planned this event together. I'm now feeling overwhelmed because I have to prepare to do your part. When we plan, here's our boundary. When we plan events together, I want to know I can count on you to show up. Can you please still come tonight, even though you don't have any potentials coming? You guys, it took me so much courage to craft messages and share how I really feel, but it is a game changer compared to my old way of it's fine, I got it. And then I gossip and then I have resentment and everyone's confused as to why I'm feeling this way. Instead of, this is so beautiful and clear. Julie now knows how I feel. And it's okay for me to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and share your feelings with your team members, you guys. And the outcome is going to be so different. Sally is going to feel great because she communicated. She's not going to gossip behind her back. She's going to communicate how she's feeling and what she still needs from Sally. Julie is now going to come to the event because she realizes like, oh, shoot, I didn't even think about, you needing to present on your own. I just, thought no one was coming. I didn't need to come. Like, she's going to be aware of how Sally's feeling. She's going to come to the event. She's going to be inspired because she came and heard all these wonderful testimonies. The team is going to have a wonderful event that just ran, and Sally and Julie are going to continue to run events together because their relationship stayed strong. There was clear communication. Everyone knows how they feel. And long term, they're going to run these events more and more. Everyone's going to benefit, and the team stays in a peaceful place. So yeah, that's really, I think, all I needed to say about that. And so your circumstance. Yeah. We want you to think about your circumstance, you guys. Take a moment to look. Is there a place in your situation where you might be projecting and assuming that that team member or that person has the same millennials and the same values that you have? Because no one can read our mind, and they don't actually, know what we don't show up in the same way that everyone else does. And so are you projecting maybe those onto others? So take a minute to think about that, because that's really good awareness.
And again, you guys circle on the worksheets if you're like, oh, I got to circle back around to this. I need to dive a little deeper into it with your situation that you wrote down. Okay, let's move on to our third and final circumstance. For the past year, Paula has done one-on-one coaching calls with her level 1 gold ambassador, Amber. Recently, Amber's been canceling calls and stopped showing up for team call. She's been unresponsive when Paula reaches out to check on her. Paula can see Amber still posting on social media about life and Plexus, but she seems to be disconnected from Paula and the team. So remember that Paula is always struggling with external validation. Okay. So she needs that external validation. With Amber pulling away like this, she immediately starts feeling what? Look at your wheel. What do you guys think that she's feeling now that Amber has basically ghosted her? Put in the chat. Actually, I want you guys to spend a minute looking at your emotional wheel and then put in the chat which one is coming up for you. Rejected, offended, hurt, insecure. Yep. All of these words. Isolated, abandoned, insecure, confused, used, hurt. Yep. All, oh my gosh, you guys. Yes. Insecure, ashamed, deflated, offended, excluded. All right. So do you see how great this is to name it, to tame it? So, but Paula doesn't do that. Paula doesn't stop and really process any of her emotions. She sits in it. And what she does, what you do when you sit in a negative emotion like this, you guys, is the action that she's going to take is she's going to believe the thoughts and the story that her brain makes up. So I want you guys to follow me on this. This picture of the girl with the thought bubble, okay? When you are thinking about what someone else is thinking, those are all your thoughts. But what we do is we make up a storyline, like this narrative in our head of why Amber's doing this. And what Paula would do or does is creates this storyline that puts herself in the role of the villain. Because obviously she did something to Amber, she doesn't know what it is. And so her brain will fill in the gaps with a negative story to make her the villain. But again, when she is thinking about what Amber's thinking about her, they're all just her thoughts, but it becomes her reality. Who can identify with this? Who can identify with creating a storyline about what somebody else is thinking of you and not realizing that all of that is actually just your thoughts? This little graphic, you guys, was shared with me with by a life coach. And when she showed me this, I literally was like, I don't know why. I think it was just the graphic of it made it so like, oh my gosh, like it really is just all your thoughts. So, okay, lots of guilty people here to do it. Okay, so that's exactly what Paula does. She makes up this storyline. She puts herself in the role of the victim or the villain. She thinks that she must have been a villain to Amber, even though she doesn't know what happened, and she makes up that storyline. I love this other graphic that said what happened, what I focused on, and the story I told myself. How she's just focusing on the negative and then she's exploding that into a negative story. So that is what Paula does. So I have lived through this. I did exactly what Paula did. And I made it mean so much about me as a leader, and it impacted how I started showing up for my team. So how does this impact Paula when she takes these actions of believing her own thoughts? Well, the outcome of this is Paula chooses to believe all of her thoughts she made up about it, and she focuses so much, and she kind of like gets so distracted by the situation with Amber and all the things that she can't control with it. Amber has simply made a decision to work her Plexus business without choosing to engage with Paula's team right now. The team is impacted because Paula is so distracted, and she isn't really showing up as her confident self because she believed that storyline. And long term, Paula has let those made up stories become her identity as a leader, and she's closed the door in the relationship with Amber, and she honestly is kind of fallen out of the leadership role with her team as a strong leader anymore.
So same circumstance, you guys, with self-aware Sally. And remember, Sally is in control of her thoughts and what she can and cannot control. And she also focuses on, I can't read that last little bit, but I think it says
what she focuses on expands.
Oh, what she focuses on. Okay, thanks. My little pictures are in the way. So I think what's interesting, again, going back to what I was first talking about, the clearer you can get with your own leadership and that security, the more you understand all of this. Also, you guys, the more, I guess, I've allowed other people to have their own business, work their own business, find other coaches that are out there. Like, we're not everybody's cup of tea. Our leadership style may not match up well with somebody else's leadership style. And it may go back to their values and their expectations, and what they value may not align with the same things you align with. And that is okay. People are allowed to, run with sideline sister, and we don't need to make it mean anything about us. I love that saying, you can be the juiciest peach on the tree and somebody still doesn't like, peaches. I think as a recovering people pleaser, I worked so hard my whole life to be perfect for everybody so everyone would like me. And I think the more I've recognized, not everyone is going to like me. There's no perfect way to people please everybody. And that really does allow you to lead in your way, be who you want, like what you want, and let other people like what they like, be who they are, and enjoy what they are. And not everyone is going to like the way you show up in the world. And that is okay. It's all okay. So allowing it to be okay that someone doesn't want to coach with you anymore. Maybe they've enrolled in a coaching program with somebody else. Maybe they're just stepping back. We don't know. So self-aware Sally does not spiral into those stories. She, again, is going to do those same things of interesting, what's coming up for me? Why am I feeling this way? I'm a human. And then she's going to not make up all those stories and spiral. She's going to stay present. I don't truly know what's going on with Amber. I have not heard from Amber that there is a problem in our relationship. And so I cannot spiral until I know the facts. She's going to stay present, leading her team. She's going to just be clear on the actual facts because she's going to journal that out. She's going to know that she has attempted to communicate with Amber. And
she's
again,
put the message up that she sends Amber.
Oh yeah, here we go. This is helpful. Right. Hi, Amber. I haven't heard back from you, and I just want to make sure you're doing okay. I hope you know I'm here and ready to help when you want to get back to working together again. I trust that if there is an issue that needs to be discussed with me, I am open to feedback and honest conversation and would love to connect. So when self-aware Sally sends that message, it's in Amber's court to either decide to let her know how she's feeling or what's really going on. And if she doesn't get a response back, there's truly nothing self-aware Sally can do. There's nothing she can do until Amber decides to let her know that she either did something that upset her or there's nothing really Sally can do. So she is going to continue because she doesn't need that outside validation that she's a good leader from Amber. She's going to respect Amber's wishes. She's not going to make up those stories. She's her own CEO. She can do what she wants with who she wants. And the outcome is going to be so very different. Sally's going to continue to show up and lead her team and help those who are wanting to lean into her leadership style. Amber's going to take a step back for a moment and maybe find other leadership or sideline sisters, or, you know, she's going to do whatever Amber's going to do, but Sally can't let it stop her from leading her team because she truly doesn't know the facts. The team isn't going to be affected because Sally's going to continue to be present and show up. And then long term, Sally hopes that when Amber's ready, she knows she's here to come back and have a conversation with her. But long term, she's going to be working with the people who do want to lean into her leadership. So again, take a minute to look at your circumstance. Are you making up stories? Is there, and you guys, some things happen in the history of our business that we kind of like make everything put a lens on, and our, you know, perceptions and things like that. And so you've got to get real clear on what's the facts and what is your brain offering up for stories. So are you filling in thoughts that's impacting how you feel? Do you actually need to reach out and get a real factual story from somebody on your team with what's really going on? And a lot of times in my marriage, I now say, I love this, actually came from another life coach too. I love to say in my marriage, the story I'm telling myself is this. And then my husband is able to say, oh my gosh, that's not what I meant to come off like, or, you know, whatever, like the story I'm telling myself is this. And it just helps a lot, you guys, to diffuse the defensiveness and be able to say, this is the story I'm making up in my head. Is this a truth or not a truth?
Okay. So how are you guys feeling? Your circumstances that you just heard this training. You just took all of this in. Some of you, this was new information. Some of it, maybe you've heard it before, but I'm hoping you were still receptive and you heard it maybe a little bit deeper, or it hit you a little bit differently this time. So I want you to really identify, how are you feeling after you heard this training? In fact, I would love if you're brave enough to put that in the chat. Like, look at your emotion wheel and think, how are you really feeling after you heard this? I'm loving the word empowered. Seeing that a lot. That's what we want. And you guys, that's the feedback we've got after convention. People came to us and said, peaceful and empowered, which is really what we want. Equipped. I love equipped. You guys, these worksheets.
Not alone, empowered, more aware.
You will have these forever. So at the next time you're like, oh, hitting a bump in the road with this, go back to what is in Sally's toolbox. Okay. Okay, I love the not alone. Okay, so good, you guys, and the confident. So now that you are feeling this way, what actions will you take? How will you help to resolve the situation you wrote down at the beginning of this training? Like, what actions do you need to take? Hopefully you've taken notes on all the things you're like, oh, I got to set a boundary. Oh, I need to have that clarifying conversation. I'm going to fill out that worksheet. I'm going to do my journaling. I'm going to process my feelings, all of that. Okay. Okay, good. Not expect others to have read your manual you have for them. And then what will your outcome be? Our hope and dream and prayer, honestly, is that after this training, your outcome will be different. I'm hoping and praying that all of you guys will have a new level of awareness from this. And the good news is it's recorded. And so now you guys can share this with people on your team, or maybe even rewatch it when you need that, when you need to. But Darcy and I honestly had the most incredible time writing this training. And we are so grateful for you guys being on tonight. Now, we do have a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Did anything come up during the training where you're like, hold on, I don't understand this? Or like, in my situation, this wouldn't work, whatever.
Yeah. And the one last thing I want you guys to say is, you are worthy, and you are worthy for you to share your feelings with others. Like, I think for so long, it's like, I don't want to upset anybody else. I don't want to really share how I'm really feeling. No one needs my baggage. No one needs to know. Yes, they do. You are worthy of telling people how you feel, and they can take it however they want, but you are absolutely worthy of sharing how you feel, and you're worthy of respect and love from people. So I do want you guys to hear that too, that it took me a long time to realize that I am just as worthy as everybody else as sharing with people how I'm feeling. I'm allowed to do that, and not just say, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It's not fine. You're allowed to share how you're feeling.
And it's not mean. I just
No.
think that's like such, like, I always thought it was mean. It's not mean, to be
No.
clear. It's not
No,
mean.
and we just showed you in those scenarios how wonderfully peaceful people's relationships stayed when everyone actually shared their feelings and were honest and truthful. Clear is kind. I love that. Clear is kind.
I love, Debbie said, sharing how I feel gives others the freedom to do the same. Yes. And it also sets a, like with Molly's situation, the first one, how Sally handled it. Well, in all of the situations, really, however Sally handles it, she's modeling for her team that ability to be self-aware in leadership. So I want you guys to know the impact that you're having when you are doing these things and you're feeling this empowerment, you're feeling this peace, there is a true ripple effect. And you're teaching your teams how to handle it as well. Okay, guys, I didn't see any questions pop in. Thank you guys so much for being on. This was so fun. Darcy, I'm so glad we have it recorded now.
Yes, me too. Me too. Me too.
All right. Love you guys. Good night, everybody.